continuing this morning to track a controversial bill in Colorado. This would impact the sale of semi-automatic guns with those detachable magazines.
So Colorado was out here trying to ban the sale of AR-15s, shotguns, and rifles with extended mags. I swear politicians treat gun bans like bad exes. No matter how many times they get rejected, they just keep coming back for more. But this time, they didn't just try to ban guns, they tried to make it impossible to buy one.
Senate Bill 3 is no longer a ban on certain guns, but Republicans, they still strongly oppose it. It's now passed the Senate, heavily amended, and it goes on to the House. A major change at the end of last week. An amendment was added that would allow the sale of these types of guns, but the buyer would have to be vetted, complete a training course with a test, and be added to a registry.
And right when you think, okay, maybe they realize this is insane, boom, they slap a registry on it. Yeah, they turned a right into a privilege, threw in a paywall, and then called it a day. But don't worry, I'm about to break down how this is even worse than a ban.
Yesterday, 11 Senate Republicans shared why they were against the bill, several saying that with this amendment, this is no longer just banning guns. They believe it's turning a right into a privilege.
All right, let's walk through this mess, shall we? Initially, this was supposed to be a straight-up ban on AR-15s and other semi-autos, but some lawmakers realized that that was a little too blatant, so they got creative. Instead of banning them outright, they just made it so difficult to buy one that most people won't even bother. Now, before you even think about buying a gun, you have to apply for an eligibility card, get fingerprinted like you just booked in the county jail, pass a background check, which, by the way, has no time limit for approval, take a 4 to 12-hour training course, which includes, wait for it, victim awareness and empathy training, pass a 90% test because apparently we're getting graded on our rights now, and then pay a fee that the state can raise whenever they feel like it. By the time you actually get through all of that, you're out hundreds of dollars. You've wasted who knows how many hours, and you've probably aged 5 years. And after all of that, you still might not get approved. And just when you think that's the worst of it, Colorado's like, oh, one more thing. We're keeping a registry of every single person who goes through this. Because what could possibly go wrong with a government list of all the gun owners? Right. Now, before we go any deeper into this insanity, let's talk about making a bold statement. And no, I don't mean some bland political press release. I'm talking about something that actually says what we're all thinking without saying a word. Or maybe saying some words. You know, when the ATF shows up, they're not here to talk about your whiskey collection or your cigar humidor. That's why I dropped the, I'm guessing you're not here about the alcohol or tobacco design over at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. This thing is slick. A coiled snake wrapped around a rifle, a modern take on the classic Gadsden flag. It's a perfect mix of sarcasm, Second Amendment pride, and just enough attitude to make a bureaucrat uncomfortable. And whether you grab it as a hoodie, a t-shirt, tank top, or tumbler, it makes a statement without you having to say a word. Because yes, we do have a new ATF director. However, we still gotta let him know sometimes because, you know, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Let's hope we never have to deal with any of that shit. But just as a reminder. So, if you're tired of anti-gun politicians running their mouths while you're out here just trying to exercise your right, go to shop.mrcolionnoir.com and pick up one of these today, because sometimes a little sarcasm wrapped around a rifle says everything that needs to be said.
The bill is expected to pass the House and already has the support of Governor Polis.
See, this isn't about safety. This is about control. Gun control activists love to pretend they're only targeting the bad guys, but in reality, the only people they're restricting are law-abiding gun owners. Criminals, yeah, they're not signing up for background checks. They're not sitting through 12 hours of training. They're out here getting their guns the same way they always have, through theft, the black market, and other illegal means. This is like telling people they need a government-issued permit, a 12-hour class, and a registry to exercise free speech. Imagine having to take an exam just to post on X. That's how absurd this is. And let's talk about the whole gun registry thing for a second. You know who loves gun registries? Governments that plan to take your guns later. This is why the Second Amendment exists, because history has repeatedly shown that registration leads to confiscation. Now, here's where things get a little interesting. Some of the original Democrat sponsors of this bill actually backed out before the vote. Why? because they knew it was political unaliving. One of them straight up admitted that he couldn't risk losing his seat. Oh, so when it's your job on the line, suddenly you care what the voters think. Funny how that works. And a lot of us should remember that.
Two of the bill's original Democratic sponsors did join Republicans to vote against it, and both of them are from El Paso County.
I couldn't risk the fact of possibly losing my seat through a recall. All the gun legislation that we've had in the past, I voted for, even with the threat of recalls. But this had a different energy to it. It was a difficult day leading up to this because, like I said, once I give my word, I'm true to my word, and I went back on my word today.
Unfortunately, the bill, when it got introduced, was quite different from what I was expecting. And as I followed the process along, it became more and more of another, burden upon law-abiding, lawful gun owners. This bill became so much more than just trying to get rid of those high-capacity magazines that ultimately I could not support it.
And let's not forget, Colorado already has gun control stacked to the ceiling. Universal background checks, magazine bans, red flag laws, yet somehow criminals still exist. This is the exact reason why anti-gunners play the long game. They know they can't get a full ban overnight, so they go piece by piece, adding layers of red tape until owning a gun is damn near impossible. At the end of the day, this isn't about Colorado. It's about a bigger movement trying to dismantle the Second Amendment one law at a time. And the only way to fight back is to stay informed, stay vocal, and most importantly, vote. I know we think we have everything covered now, but remember, on a state level, they can still do this shit consistently and win. So if you're in Colorado, you better start making some noise now. And if you're in a safe state, don't get too comfortable. This fight is coming to everyone's doorstep eventually. And if you need a reminder of why that right is so important, let me tell you about the mother who had to fight off 3 armed intruders while holding her baby in the other hand. Yeah, you heard that right. One hand on a gun, one hand on her child, and all the heart in the world. But the part that really got me, she actually warned them first, and they still shot at her. This is why we fight for the right to bear arms, because when evil kicks down your door, you don't get a second chance. So click here to watch my breakdown of her story that you need to hear. If you like this video, drop a comment. Let me know what you think and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. And as always, stay armed, stay trained, and stay free.